April 28th, 2025. Spain, Portugal, France, just
Sure.
plunged into darkness.
Millions of people. No power.
Imagine it, entire cities dark.
Right.
Trains just frozen on the tracks, airports stalled out, communications gone.
Utter chaos. Panic spreading.
But the thing is, this wasn't exactly out of the blue, was it? This specific event, it was actually predicted, announced beforehand.
It was. Back in January, I specifically stated that the period between March and April, well, it held significant potential for major systemic disruption. Shattering systems, I think I said.
You did, and we need to talk about that. Let's dive deep into Lorenzo's predictions because, while others were maybe giving more conventional forecasts back then,
Lorenzo was specific, very specific.
He warned January that March and April weren't just about, say, earthquakes or volcanoes, but something potentially even more destabilizing.
The breakdown of the very infrastructure we rely on. Power, transport, communications. The basics.
And he pointed squarely at Europe, didn't he? Southern Europe in particular.
Exactly. My analysis highlighted escalating natural disasters through 2025, yes. But crucially linked infrastructural collapses to extreme weather, solar flares, seismic triggers.
Whole mix of factors.
Precisely. And the timeline I flagged as most dangerous. March through April and extending beyond. For Europe, specifically Spain, the forecast wasn't just political or social unrest.
No.
It included these physical, natural disruptions tied directly to astrological alignments. You had Uranus going into Gemini, the whole eclipse cycle we discussed, those Saturn-Neptune conjunctions.
All converging.
And I indicated these would feed into total infrastructure vulnerabilities, electricity problems, climate, and geopolitical domino effects, especially in April 2025.
Uranus and Gemini, you mentioned that being key.
Well, Uranus is the planet of sudden shocks, disruption, technology. And Gemini, that rules communication, networks, transport. So Uranus entering Gemini was a major indicator for potential comms and electrical grid collapses.
Okay, so let's zero in on what Lorenzo actually said back then about this specific time frame and these system risks.
Yeah. Lorenzo's January analysis was pretty clear. Quote, March and April will be dangerous months. Not just for earthquakes or volcanoes, but for the collapse of infrastructures we take for granted. Power, transport, communication.
That's dark.
And he added, Europe is sitting on fragile systems, Southern Europe especially. Spain, Italy, Greece. If there is a collapse, it will happen suddenly.
Wow. A sudden collapse.
Yeah,
Well, that's exactly what people experience. What about the electricity and communication network specifically? Any more detail there?
Oh, yes. The forecast detailed potential failures in electricity grids, internet blackouts, communication breakdowns, and crucially, he said it wouldn't be just one isolated issue. No. It was because, and I quote again, the energies from above are pulling the weakest links apart. He also noted transportation and energy grids could face sudden shocks during the eclipse season, particularly in countries already facing political and financial strain.
Which brings us back to the Mediterranean. Given what just happened on April 28th, that focus seems incredibly prescient now.
Lorenzo absolutely highlighted it. Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece. The Mediterranean region needs to be alert. The transits are putting enormous stress on both the land and the man-made systems there.
And the timing he expected.
He expected blackouts, transport gridlocks, and systemic pressure points starting late March and escalating through April and May.
It's just really striking how closely that aligns with what unfolded. He also mentioned another potential trigger, something maybe less obvious.
He did. Solar activity. Lorenzo's analysis included the risk of solar activity and geomagnetic disruptions around the eclipses. He warned these could have consequences far beyond just, seeing the northern lights further south.
Right, like physical impacts.
Exactly. He indicated they could destabilize electricity networks, GPS, satellite communications, especially in Southern Europe.
A factor many people, even experts, might overlook in this kind of infrastructure failure. And Lorenzo saw this not as isolated incidents, but part of something bigger.
Yes, a connected global pattern. His perspective was, it's not just the Earth moving, it's the systems collapsing. The infrastructures humanity built thinking they were untouchable, those will start to crack first.
So, looking back at those January forecasts, what's the bottom line from Lorenzo? How accurate does he feel he was?
Unequivocal, Lorenzo stated. I 100% called this. I foresaw not just the type of event, blackouts, energy collapse, but the exact region, Spain, Portugal, Mediterranean, Europe, and the precise window, late March, April. This was not symbolic prediction. This was a factual, documented prophecy.
Documented prophecy. Strong words. And those eclipses, the ones in late March and mid-April, Lorenzo saw them as more than just astronomical events.
He called them cosmic detonators. Simple as that.
Detonators.
And according to his analysis now, the aftershocks are ripping through Earth's systems exactly as predicted. You're seeing it unfold in real time. The blackouts are just the beginning.
Just the beginning. So this massive blackout, as terrible as it was, is really just the first phase, according to Lorenzo.
Yeah.
What does he see coming next?
His message is that this blackout is a wake-up call, a stark warning about just how fragile things are. He said, your systems are not untouchable.
Okay. So more disruptions.
That's the expectation. Cyber attacks. More power failures, perhaps in different areas or recurring, transportation chaos continuing or worsening, and potentially disruptions hitting water and food supplies.
And what about those countries affected now? Spain, Portugal, France, and the wider Mediterranean. Is the pressure off them now?
Not according to Lorenzo. For Greece, Italy, Spain, France, he says, the pressure is still building. The Mediterranean fault lines are still hot. The energy grids are unstable. The financial systems are fragile. His conclusion, the chain reaction is far from over.
Lorenzo also had a very direct message for you, the listener, right now.
He does. Lorenzo's message is this. If you've been listening to me, you're ahead. If you haven't, you're running out of time to wake up.
He's not trying to incite panic, though.
No, he's clear about that. I didn't predict this to scare you. I predicted it to give you an edge, to give you a fighting chance. He feels this moves beyond simple forecasting.
How so?
He says, I'm not just forecasting anymore, I'm documenting prophecy, and this is just the beginning.
So what's the call to action then? What does Lorenzo want you to do?
It's straightforward. If you want real forecasts, if you want brutal truth without the sugarcoating, subscribe now. Follow my channel. Get ready for what's next.
Real forecasts, brutal truth.
That's his promise, and he signs off. This is Lorenzo, and this isn't astrology anymore. This is prophecy in action.